girls of Reddit, what are some hints you gave to a crush which flew right over their head? The more obvious, the better. I used to sneak out and throw rocks at his window at night to get him to come out and talk to me. Also used to organize friend nights for the sole purpose of seeing him. Was a complete shock to him apparently when my friend drunkenly told him he was so blind to my crush on him. LOL boys. We've now been dating for 6 years. It's easy to dismiss these as he was clueless, but there is one alternative explanation. He just does not believe you could possibly like him and that it is some kind of mean practical joke that you and your friends will laugh about later. He actually thought I was serious. Depression is a B. Yes, I should have said at least one alternative, but I think the assumption here is that the guy is, in fact, interested but he is missing the signals and has reasons why he's not taking the initiative. Have had that kind of joke played on me. While we were both really drunk, she sat on my lap and said I could never be with a guy like you. You're too nice. She was feeling my face and everything. I was confused. I had a boner and was sad at the same time. My fiance had no idea I was hitting on him before we started dating. After spending a day together with our college club, we returned to the campus. I asked him if he was free anytime the next week to hang out. He just said, "Nope, I'm really busy," which he maintains to this day was true. Then a few weeks later I tried to get him to hang out again and pretended to send a mass text to see who was in town for spring break. It was my night off, so I hoped he would respond. The next day he texts me here and that was it. I was convinced he didn't like me, but several of my friends told me to just ask him out. When I finally worked up the courage, I was so nervous that I was not my usual happy goofy self. I told him I needed to talk to him, and he thought he had pee me off. He had no idea I was interested until I asked him out and he was really happy when I did. We've been together for almost 5 years. 3. Not a girl but back in high school I was very close to this girl who was in my friend group. Me and her did everything together, like go to the movies without the others in the group, go on lunch dates, she'd sleep over. We were basically a couple. I say basically because we did all this, but I wasn't dating her or ever tried because I really thought she wasn't into me. But I mean, this girl literally would tell me things like I would be happy if you were my first time, and she actually got naked in front of me one day. I was just an extremely dense kid who assumed she was like this with all guys. On a happier note, I did end up dating her once I got to college and we're still together now. Poor girl was probably so frustrated with you by the time you got the hint. She must really like you to have put up with that. Haha. I had one female friend I liked a lot. We ate together in class every day, talked every day, and made a lot of physical contact. She would scratch my back, ask me to massage her feet, etc. A lot of flirting went on. I asked her out on a date and she said, "Oh, I'm sorry, I don't like you like that. Another girl gets flirty with me often. We've made out." She has said I had a dream about us fricking last night, which sparked a conversation that ended with her admitting she wanted to frick me. She even talks about marrying me. Oh, but she's seeing someone. Wait, what? And this is why I believe that men are guys to get the hints but are like, yeah, I'm not going on that ride. I'm the guy whose head it went over after my first real date ever, though at the time I wasn't sure if it was a date. When I was 19 at the movies, I took her home. I offered to walk her to her door like a sir. When we're up there she tells me I didn't have to do that and I reply with something like, "Well, sometimes I like to pull out the old school traditional moves." She turns away from the key in her door, takes a slight step towards me, and says, "Well, do you know any more of those traditional moves?" I freaking bow, tip my freaking hat, and freaking say some corny crap like I had a lovely time tonight. Madam, I didn't realize what I'd missed until I was halfway home and I scared the people beside me at the light because I was screaming at the top of my lungs and pounding the dashboard. Telling that story still makes me mad at myself all these years later. My whole body is twisted into a knot of pure cringe. Band trip to Universal. I had purposefully chosen his group to walk around with and stayed mostly hanging out with just him. Always tried to sit next to him on rides that required the group to split. Second day of the trip, we went to the second park. We all got butterbeer and I didn't get a straw, so it was all over my top lip. He says, "If you were any other girl, I would be all smooth and be like, here, let me help you with that and kiss you, but I don't think you're like that. I blush and say, well, how do you know I'm not like that? No response. I sat next to him on the bus ride to and from Universal, even took home the stuffed dinosaur he won, and I'm pretty sure I bought him and his friend cheesecake, all while he was pining over another girl. Apparently our friends were making bets on how long it would take us to get together. Took him a few weeks, but that's my boyfriend, everyone. He knows my Reddit, too, so hi sweetheart. Can confirm as her dense boyfriend. This is from the other side of it. A girl had asked me to come help her study. Mind you, we were in 2 different majors. She kept asking me for a week and I finally said I'd come over at such and such time. Well, I get to her place. She's in a sports bra and spandex shorts in the living room. Her excuse was that she was exercising by doing P90, not a hint of sweat. I think nothing of it. She shows me around the house and eventually leads me up to her bedroom and told me numerous times her roommates were not home. I still don't get what she's going for. I ask if we are going to study and she proceeds to show me stuff in her room and asks if I was good at anatomy. Then her roommates show up. It all went over my head until one night at a bar, in her inebriated state, angrily yelled that she liked me and that I was an idiot for not noticing. Gorgeous Russian blonde sat next to me in study hall for a year in high school. Every day we would push our desks together and playfully kick each other under the desk, hide each other's stuff, and do homework together. After I moved states she berated me for how oblivious I was. In my defense, I was a lanky nerd with low self-esteem. When I was in high school, I would try to hold the guy I liked hand, put myself under his arm, and have him pretend to be my boyfriend when other guys that were crushing on me came near. I would jump on him when I hugged him, and I would lean on him and touch him as much as I could. For years the sucker thought he was friend-zoned. For years I thought he friend-zoned me. Please tell me you're together now. My serotonin needs it. I'm a guy. I was 23ish at the time, I think. I was super into this girl. We were best friends, both virgins. She was super into me, but my clueless butt had no idea. One night, we were sitting in a parking lot in my car talking about fricking, which we did surprisingly often. She asked me a hypothetical, what would you do if? And then she proceeded to describe our surroundings and the situation almost exactly, and she said she wanted to frick you right there. My fricking dumbass answered the question and then continued the conversation like it was all good. Addendum to this. Some of us are very good at rationalizing away hints we've noticed. For example, I've literally been making out with a girl who has told me she only is physical when there is meaning, then a day later convinced myself it didn't mean she liked me. I do this with every relationship, having to convince myself each morning that yes, she actually does like me. I spent the night at her house the other night, and we were cuddling kissing the entire time. I still question it, but I think it's a defense mechanism based on bad past experience. I just kissed him because he wasn't taking any hint. Take control. If he likes you, it's a sure winner. We would always hang out after classes on our own and I'd rest my head against his chest or lap, depending on whatever was comfiest. When we'd watch movies, I'd play with his hair a lot. I even kissed him on the cheek once. He had no idea. A friend told me she had a crush on a girl but didn't know if she was straight and couldn't figure out how to raise the subject. I gave her some mostly joking suggestions. I was the girl. It went so far over my head that I actually got jealous of the mystery girl. She's my girlfriend now and is still laughing about the fact that I was jealous of myself. Ha, my first girlfriend pulled that crap with me in high school. I'm a dude. There's this guy in school I like. He's really cute, made me go through the dang yearbook because she was too embarrassed and wanted me to guess. I'm a guy and I have a story that's not quite what OP asked. There was this girl who liked me and I was very aware of it. She kept showing up to events I was gonna be at. She flirted with me constantly, sat right next to me at every chance. I liked her too, but here's the thing, I'm pretty crap. Like, I'm just not boyfriend material and I knew that's what she wanted. So I had a frank discussion with her about this and she convinced me to date her anyway. We were together for 2 years, during which she slowly realized how crap I was, and I slowly fell ridiculously in love with her. So she dumped me and man it hurt. Ladies, if a guy straight up tells you he's crap, leave off. Fellas, if you know you're crap, don't let a girl convince you you're wrong. This isn't the movies. The guy doesn't suddenly find the will to make his life better because of the girl. The girl doesn't have the ability to fix him. In the end, all that you get is heartbreak. Get your crap together first, else don't get involved with someone who thinks you will. Not a girl, but one time this girl who I knew had a crush on me somehow got my number and called me. She told me she liked me. I hung up the phone. We met at a Reddit meetup. Talking on Facebook, I mentioned a new bar near where I worked. He said he'd never heard of it. I said they had really good Bloody Marys. He said he didn't like mixed drinks. Then I read a Reddit thread about guys. When have you realized too late she was flirting with you and realized he has no clue I wanted to go out for drinks? So I messaged him again and was more blunt about it. We are now married and expecting our second boy any day now. I asked this guy out to prom and he agreed to go with me. We knew each other from school even though he was a year older than me, and we had even been out to a comedy show before together. Fast forward a couple of weeks and I message him over Facebook to let him know what color my dress is, in case he wants to match, and he replies with, "Oh, I thought you were joking. I'm going with so and so," and that's how I ended up dateless for prom. We were 16 years old and playing hide and seek with a bunch of friends in an old abandoned warehouse. I actively sought him out as my hiding partner and he reluctantly went into a small cozy closet with me. He thought we could find a better hiding spot. I finally convinced him to go inside with me and we were dang near pressed up against one another. I told him we could do just about anything in here and no one would know, and he said yeah, but we'd make noise and they'd find us. Sigh. Later on that night I found out that the rest of our group had all basically used the game as a pretense to hook up with various people. Meanwhile my crush was in full on hiding mode. I always referred to him, and only him, with an endearing honorific. I asked to go hang out for a day in a different city, just the two of us. I insisted that I walk with him to the grocery store while all our other friends waited at home, even though my feet were killing me at the time and everyone knew that. I always sat with my body facing him during social events. These aren't too obvious as isolated incidents, but all the little things accumulating over time should have told an idiot that I liked him, and yet he seemed to not have any idea. My girlfriends were definitely catching on. For what it's worth, I'm almost certain he liked me too, but he had little self-confidence. I considered confessing to him, but probably like him, I didn't want to risk everything being a huge misunderstanding and damaging our friendship. But now we're an ocean away, so I guess that's that. This is me right now, posted in our relationships, and all the replies were just, "Ask him." I'm still gathering the courage to do so, but I definitely will. We were at a party and had gone outside to wait for my dad to pick me up. I took his hands and tried kissing him. To this day my boyfriend claims that he thought I was drunk and that I didn't know what I was doing. Spoiler alert, I was not. That was almost 4 years ago. It took him 8 months of flirting after that before he got the hint. The most oblivious dumbass. Texted literally non-stop for a couple of months. Had him over to hang out 3-4 nights a week. He would sleep on my futon. We would stay up until 5 or 6 every night talking. Held his hand while watching movies. Put my head in his lap and asked him to play with my hair. Cuddled with him on the couch while others were there too. Multiple times. Fell asleep cuddling with him. Asked him to cuddle with me in bed instead of sleeping on the futon. That went on for a couple of weeks. Took a nap while cuddling and facing him. Our lips were literally touching and he didn't kiss me. Eventually just straight up kissed him. Made out for a couple hours and he wasn't confused anymore. Together over a year currently. I slept him and told him I have feelings for him after being really good friends for 7 years. It still blew over his head. We were texting back and forth one night. He jokingly said, "You know you love me," to which I replied, "What if I do?" Followed by 10 minutes of awkward silence. I knew he didn't know what to say because he was replying within seconds. Then he hits me with, "Knowing me, I wouldn't do anything about it." It's been almost 7 years and he still cringes every time I bring it up. A girl once told me that she could be topless right now and if her mom walked in she wouldn't care, and I laughed at her because I was convinced she was joking. Then the next day we were eating lunch together and she asked me what kind of girls that I liked because she wanted to be that kind of girl. Still under the impression that she was joking. It only dawned on me that she actually had a crush on me when after she moved across the country her best friend said I was one of the only guys she ever talked about. Oh god. My husband was so clueless. Texted him all the time. Told him I liked him. Apparently he thought it was in a hey, you're cool way. Asked him to a movie with me. This was the most awkward date that wasn't a date ever. Told him that he needed kissed. He was just like okay. Invited myself over to his house to play some video games even though beyond Mario Kart I'd never showed an interest in games before. Once I was over there for a while we finally got together. I play games now. A guy I liked asked me why I didn't date. I explained that because of bullying in my teens I wasn't interested and didn't really trust people's advances. But if the right guy asked I would say yes, and that if I was brave enough I would ask them out. He said that if he asked me out he wouldn't be making fun of me and that if I asked him out he would say yes. I was trying to gather my courage up to ask him out when I found out he was sleeping with a married girl. Back when we had just met, my husband missed many of my extremely obvious and subtle hints. I would say things like you should stay here and sleep with me tonight and he would say oh, no, I'm not tired yet, I'll go home so you can sleep. Turned out he was just super conscious of me being 17 instead of 18. He was early 20s. Once I turned 18 he suddenly became aware of all my not very subtle advances. Things had been going on for a few months. He'd asked me out previously but I didn't want anything that serious at the time, so we just stayed as more than friends but not a relationship. After another couple of months we were in bed and I said something along the lines of hey, remember when we talked about being in a relationship? You should ask me again, and he just kind of laughed a bit then carried on with other conversation until I just asked him out myself. Typing it out like this is making me wonder if he actually wanted to be in a relationship. We've been together for over a year now, so hopefully he wasn't just too scared to say no. TLDR. Told him to ask me to be his girlfriend. He still didn't get it. I gave my husband a picture of the item, a coupon for 1/2 off the item and directions to the store where the item was. He still got it wrong. I asked my now boyfriend out for drinks twice and each time he responded with, yeah, we should do that, and then walked away. Finally, he asked me out, and when I said yes, he started to walk away without getting my phone number. Classic guy, trying not to jump in the air screaming yes, forgets important information. We were hanging out as friends at his place and he planned to cook us dinner, but time just flew by and I had to head home in order to catch my bus, so he didn't get to prepare the said dinner. I literally said hey, never mind, I can just spend the night here, so you can prepare the delicious steak. He said no, I can get it ready in like 10 minutes. So he did, and I went home that night. He admitted 2 weeks later that he is super in love with me and that we can't be friends anymore, because he can't stand being just my friend, and he will leave me alone if I don't feel the same. I was amazed that he was so clueless. We were at this boring meeting and took my phone and saves her number. She obviously doesn't have mine, but she's expecting I'd call her, which I didn't. The next time we meet she takes my phone, goes on my Facebook app and adds herself. She then messages me on Facebook every day, but I didn't have a clue that she likes me. One day she just lets it out, I really like you. I told her hahaha you're funny you know. So woo too. She has never responded to this day. Guy here. Sometimes I am simply not interested. I try to act dumb or clueless because it feels bad to reject somebody. I deal with rejection myself. I know how much it sucks and I don't want to hurt nobody. The thing is, the more I try to distance myself, the more they insist. Girls don't know to take a hint. The other day I got a series of texts from a guy I've been half dating asking if I kept putting my legs on his lap when we were hanging out because I wanted to create a barrier between us. No, bro, I was making a move. Had a friend who was hanging out at my house. We both had some wine and were pretty happy and touchy-feely. I hugged him and slid my hand up his shirt. He's really in shape and I said something about his abs. Instead of taking a hint, he went on to detail his workout program and strict diet. No, friend, I just wanted you to take your clothes off. My boyfriend and I spent a long time with us both being oblivious to the fact that the other was interested. We've known each other almost 7 years, but we've only been dating for 2. But the biggest one on my end was when I invited him to come visit me while I was going to school out in California. When he asked about sleeping arrangements, I told him all I had was a queen bed, but that it was big enough for both of us. I thought I was being obvious in my interest, but he told me later he thought he'd been friend-zoned so hard I didn't even mind sleeping in the same bed with a guy I wasn't interested in. I'm not sure if this is quite what you're asking for, as I'm pretty sure he knew I was into him, but didn't know what I was getting at. I was trying to give my now husband a blowjob. We had kind of been back and forth flirting for a couple of weeks and I was getting impatient and a little drunk. And I figured, hey, who doesn't want a BJ? So I started kissing his neck, and I worked my down, and got about to his lower stomach, when he stops me and starts going on about how he's not ready for a relationship just yet. To this day he swears he had no idea what I was up to, thought I just wanted to make out, and had he realized, there was no way he would have stopped me, especially considering he hadn't had fricked in 9 months at that point. Obvious spoiler is we got together shortly thereafter and are now married for 2 years. Not a crush but my boyfriend. I was ready to frick for the first time and I was rubbing his erection with my hand. Thought I was being obvious. He laughed and pulled my hand away. I was so embarrassed I didn't try again for months. He then broke up with me because I wouldn't frick him. Been talking to a guy for a month, over at his house nearly every other day. Finally I confront him and he goes, I didn't know you liked me like that. Why the frick would I be at your place every other day doing wifey crap? If you are new to the channel, you can subscribe. I publish new videos every day. Until then, check another video. Bye for now.